Hello and welcome everybody to today's webinar, How to Achieve a Visual Integrated Project Planning and Resource Scheduling with Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. My name is Martin and I'm the host of today's webinar. I'm CEO and co-owner of NETRONIC Software, and at NETRONIC I'm responsible for strategy, innovation and go-to-market. I'm happy that you're here with me today, this afternoon if you're in Europe, tonight if you're in Asia, and this morning if you're in the United States. We will talk about a product called Visual Job Scheduler. The Visual Job Scheduler is an add-in that we have for Dynamics Nav for all role-tailored client version, and that we also have for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. It is available as an on-prem solution, and it is also available on AppSource so that you can run it in the Microsoft Cloud. I see that somebody is raising the hand. Not sure why. In this meeting, you're all on mute. This is on purpose because we don't want to get disturbed by background noise. But of course, you are happy to reach out to me either after the meeting via email or on LinkedIn or on Twitter, or and please connect with me on LinkedIn if you aren't connected, so that we can engage there. But also, if you have a question, then you can ask the question here with the you can ask a question with the via the GoToWebinar chat pane. So in the GoToWebinar on the GoToWebinar dialog, there is an opportunity to post a question. So if you have a question, then please type it in there and I will answer it while I'm here on PowerPoint. When I'm doing a demo, I won't see your question. I won't see that it pops up, but then I will answer it when I'm returned from the demo to PowerPoint. So at latest, I will answer your question at the end of the call. And with this little introduction, let's jump into the topic that we prepared for today, and that is how to achieve an integrated visual project planning and resource scheduling with Business Central. And before I do so, let's talk a little bit about planning and scheduling. And I ran a webinar on Tuesday where I talked about production scheduling, so I borrowed the slide from this webinar, because when it comes to visual scheduling or visual planning, then the purpose of any scheduling or of any planning activity is to achieve an equilibrium. So to achieve like a balance between two sides, and the two sides that you really want to balance with planning or with scheduling is your supply of internal resources and the demand for the internal resources, right? So you want to make sure that you have enough resources to carry out the demand for these resources, or that you have enough demand for your resources so that you kind of keep them busy. This is scheduling. You don't want to overload them, then it will break, and you don't want to underload them. You don't want to have too less demand and you don't want to have too much demand. So it's really balancing out supply and demand for internal resources. And in the light of project and resource planning, the internal resources is resource groups and the resources that you have in resource planning in Business Central, and it is your job planning lines that represent the internal demand. So you see that there's a question coming in. Somebody can't hear the audio. Can you please confirm that all the others, can you please confirm that you can hear me? So if you all cannot hear me, then please type it quickly in. And if you can hear, then also please type it into the seconds. Okay. Most of the people can hear me. So Rolando, it seems that the issue is with you and not with me. And I'm really asking this. So thanks for the feedback. And I'm really glad that you asked the question, Rolando, because earlier today I had some issues with voice. So, but I sensed I fixed my headset. So, okay. So now I hear that people from California to Belgium can hear me, and to Switzerland. So thanks. So let's continue. So our scheduling and planning is to achieve an equilibrium, and when it comes to projects and resources, then it's to achieve the balance between what you have set up in Business Central in resource groups and resources, and what you kind of require from these resources, which is specified in your job planning line. So from, let's say, the Business Central data point of view, the minimum requirement that we with our visual job scheduler have is we need to have the definition of the internal resources. So your customers, or you, if you're an end customer, you need to set up resource groups and resources. And also we would need the resource calendar, right? So if you have a resource, give it a calendar. So say this resource works, for example, from Monday to Friday, 8 hours a day. And this is, let's say, the minimal feasible definition of capacity. And this is what we need, because remember, what we want to do is we want to balance out the demand for the internal capacity with the supply of the internal capacity. And this is the way, when it comes to project and resource scheduling, how the capacity is defined. Then when it comes to the project planning side of things, let's say the minimum information that we actually would need is the job planning line. Because with the job planning line, you define when you demand a resource, you also define which resource you demand, and you also define how long you demand it. So when it comes to scheduling and when it comes to kind of describing the demand for the internal resources, then you always have the question, when would I need this, whom would I need, and how long will it take? And all of this is kind of handled within Business Central with the job planning line. So from a scheduling standpoint, we only know we would only need the job planning lines, but the way of how Business Central is built, you cannot create a job planning line without a job task. So we also need to have job task, but job task just as the entity carrying the job planning lines, and you cannot build a job task without a job. So we also need the job as the entity carrying the job task, carrying the job planning line. And on the job card, there's actually start and end date, and you would say, okay, we would need this for scheduling, but for the VJS, this is not necessarily needed, and I will show you why and how this is. And this is the data that we are going now to balance out with the visual job scheduler. And the visual job scheduler is our extension that is like a resource and project planning drag and drop front end to standard jobs and resource modules of Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. And I said we have like a similar project to what I will show you later now also for Dynamics NAV. And what we want to do is we want to kind of get this integrated view done between what you need to do on the scheduling your resources, but also what you need to do on scheduling the project. And we want to bring those two elements together so that in the end, they are balanced out. And for the sake of this demo, I have a kind of simplistic use case, but this simplistic use case actually mirrors a couple of typical customers that we have. So I will mirror an engineering to order company, and we also have like professional services company, and we also have like event companies running the visual job scheduler, and but also a cluster of customers that we have, and I use them for this webinar, is an engineering to order company. So maybe a company that builds and installs these kind of shading systems for large offices, or a company that builds entrance controlled systems, which typically have, and both of them have standardized components, but both of them need an on-site installation at the customer, and there is significant technology implied, so it also needs some maintenance. And this is kind of, this represents a customer that runs like building automation technology, like room temperature control, building temperature control, all of this. And again, these kind of systems, they are combined software and hardware, but most of it is actually hardware, although I represent it now here with software, but also again, for a complex building, the building automation system is quite unique. So these engineering to order companies typically are like they engineer something to an order, so every job they do is pretty unique. Typically they have two sources of revenue. That's the installation of the new systems, and then once they're installed, they maintain and repair them, and typically this is their second revenue stream, with this also from time to time becoming quite important in these days. And the typical and very simplified process is they have project managers, so they have the guys who are the interface to the customer, who kind of lay out the general solution, because all of this is bespoke with the customer. Then they have an engineering department where they do CAD stuff. They have a technical office, and they do kind of the engineering of these solutions. Oftentimes they have some kind of very easy production on outsourced production, where they produce the proprietary parts that are used, like these panels here. And then once this is engineered and produced, this is shipped to the customer, and then there's an on-site implementation phase, which can take typically quite long. And so this is my use case. And before I now drill down into scheduling, we want to have a first look at the visual job scheduler and at how a visual element of project and resource scheduling and project and resource planning can look like. And with this, let me switch to Business Central. I will flip back and forth between Business Central over the and PowerPoint over the course of this webinar. But now first, let's look on how for such a company, and let me log in without talking. So for such a company, like Business Central can be set up, and how this is visually represented. And so first look at this from the Business Central point of view, because I said, okay, I need, for our scheduling, we need resources, we need resource groups, and we need job planning lines kind of being carried by job task, being carried by job. So let's look at the supply side of things. These are the resource groups. So I have the resource groups, and here in my case, my resource groups is the project lead, the technical office, the production, and the field installation. So these are the groups of resources that I have. And within these, and as you know, resource groups in Business Central are pretty trivial. You cannot make big lot of settings, but you just can, like I just said, like I just showed you, you have this table where you have the name and the number. And then I have a bunch of resources that here they are. So like I have a resource called Tom Morgan, and Tom Morgan, for me, he is part of resource group 2000, so he works in the technical office, and Tom Morgan has a calendar of 40 hours, so he's a typical 8 hours a day person. So he works from Monday to Friday, 8 hours, and this has been set up, and I have a bunch of resources here, so that in the respective groups we have some resources set up. Not that many, but you see that there's also a resource with a strange name, and I will come to this later, because this is actually a little workaround that we do and that we recommend to do to overcome the Business Central weakness that with Business Central you only can plan to the resource and not to the resource group. But I will come to this in a minute. So this is what we need for the, like on the capacity supply side of things. This is not rocket science, and this is all standard Business Central. And then on the demand side of things, we have our jobs. And if we look here, there's also a few jobs here. They all start with J, so these are actually really a few jobs that I start to schedule, or that are already scheduled. And then we have some that are called master, and I will come to this in a minute. So let's just look, for the sake of my schedule, let's look and for the sake of kind of making you familiar with general visualization principles, let's look at this job. You see it's a standard job header. The only thing that is non-standard in the job header is the color. So we have the capability to say, okay, when I look at this job in a visual way, I want it to show up in a certain color. And so the color that I want to look at this job is red. And you can type in the color value, or you can click the three dots, and then from this endless color palette. You can pick whatever kind of color you like, but in this case, let's take it red so that it will stand out when we look at this. Then here I have, and I made it very simple to start with. I have 5 phases. Like, it starts with the project leader, then it goes to the technical of it, it goes to production. We need to go out to the customer, install it, and then maybe the project manager has to go back again on site and get the final approval of the customer. So just have a couple of job tasks, and under each job task, I just have one job planning line, I think, to make it very simplistic. So, and again, this is actually what we would need. We would need to know that these job planning lines belong to one job, and they represent the when, this is the planning date, the who, this is Mary, and the how long, and this is 16 hours. So now I know that on the 9th of February, or starting on the 9th of February, I would need Mary for 16 hours. And this is information that we definitively need. So we need to have the job planning lines with like the date, the when, the who, and the how long. On the job card, you can actually define a starting date and ending date. I kept the starting date empty and I populated an ending date. So we read this as, okay, there is no earliest or latest start date of the job that we give, but the job will start when the first job planning line will start. But here is an end date. So we say, okay, actually the job should not start later than that date. So this is how we read this. If this would also be blank, we still could schedule the job, because then it would finish at the latest date of all job planning lines. And so now this is just one example of a job, but this job now specifies a demand for my resources. And now I can actually have a look at this, how this shows up visually. And we remember my sample project that I will look at now should show up in red in the NETRONIC VJS in the visual job scheduler. And we just look at the project because I don't want to see the template. So I filter a little bit because I'm not interested in the filter and some of the rubbish, but I'm just interested in my project. And here we go. We now are in what we call the job view. And we see I have actually a bunch of projects here. And I have my red one, my sample project. You see, this is structured in a way that we have the project here. They are grouped by their status. So I have my open, and then I have my planning and quoted and complete. And then each line represents one job. This red line here, this is today. So this is work date. So here in my system, my work date is the 28th of January 21. And then we see the weeks, we see the months, and we can definitively here from the time scale, we can zoom in and kind of expand this so that we see this on a weekly view, and then we can kind of move also like this in the same kind of time chunks, or I can scroll in the opposite direction to see a longer time frame, so that I see that my sample project is here planned to happen in week 6, 7, and 8, and ending in week 9, so beginning of March. I used some color coding here. So I gave I took blue as the color for like new projects. And this is wrong here, and I used orange as the color for like maintenance and repair projects. Okay. But this is something that customers can define however they want. And then I have my red sample project, and we can have a look at this, how this is scheduled, because we saw that there are actually the job tasks. So I have the project lead, the tech office, the production, the installation, and then from here, like expand all, we can, and let me do it from here. We can drill down into the job planning lines so that we see, okay, actually here we need to do like the project lead activity first, then it goes to the tech office, then production, and we have assigned it to job number 3. It needs to go to installation, and then project lead. This is Mary again. What you see is that there are links between those job planning lines. So they're in the visual job scheduler. You have the capability to define dependencies, which is something that we brought to Business Central via the VJS, which you don't have in standard Business Central. And now from here, of course, you can make drag and drop changes. You can say, okay, for some reason, the installation will start a day later. Then I move it here from Wednesday to Thursday, and then you see this whole thing moves, and like the successor, like the installation, whatever the final acceptance with the customer moves as well. And what you also see is actually we have here a job planning line that has like the when. Here it's still on the 24th. It's on Allen, and the quantity is 40. So these 40 now are spread across. Let me zoom in there as far as I can. This is across 5 working days. So Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because Alan has a 40-hour week and he does not work on Saturday and Sunday. So if we start on Thursday, we will finish on Wednesday. If we start on Friday, we will finish here on Thursday, and then this should get moved as well. So we can shuffle stuff around here. And we could also say, okay, actually, you know what? I recognize that here this is where it goes to production, and these guys tell me that they won't be ready after 5 days, but they would need some more days, so maybe a day more. So I can make this longer and say, okay, it's not 40 hours, but 48, and then this just got longer. And I will come to these options again. So what we don't see from here, actually, what we don't see from here is what the overall resource situation is. So then, because we want to do project planning and resource scheduling, we have an alternative view where we look at the same data, but now from the perspective of my resources. I have my resource groups and I have my resources. And now I see that which resources are working on which kind of tasks. And if this, for example, would move again, I see, okay, I have some flexibility with Timothy, then this would move. It would not impact this. It would not impact this. But now if I would move this again to start on Monday and not on Friday, it would move the entire chain. And now this one moves, this one moved, and that one moved. And what happened is I get a notification, because the notification is they said, hey, heads up, you have a job planning line that has been placed past the end of its job. And so as this one got moved, I would say, okay, like this is now the last job planning line of this job 320. So show me this guy again in the job view. So I go back to the job view, and then I see that this got moved. And from here, I can quickly do a double click and get on the project card. And then I would recognize, okay, this was meant to be due on or finished on the 5th of March. And now, due to my changes, this is ending on the 8th of March. Okay, so we actually, once, and this is what I said, once these dates here are populated, we take them into account. And if we miss them, like I did just now by moving stuff around, then we show this as a warning. So I can actually I can fix this either from here, or let me do this from here again. So from the resource view. So from the resource view, I can say, okay, actually I need to move this back. And then only this moves. And if I want to move all the successors, then I can just say scheduled successors. And then we run through all the successors and we get them as close as we can to the predecessor. Now this is again finishing in time, and boom, the notification is gone. So this is how we can look at the data. In addition to this, I mean, we have our project leaders here, and you see they are quite busy here in the beginning of my schedule, likewise the technical office. And if I wonder how much free capacity I have, I mean, I know I have Linda, I have Mark, and I have Mary. And again, this is a simplified example with just a few resources. But I have an aggregated capacity here. So I can actually do something like this, and then I get a capacity curve, which shows me as the outer line the total available capacity on that day. And this is now 24 hours because I have 3 resources, each 8 hours a day. And these gray bars, these mountain type of diagram shows me to which degree I have used this capacity. So I see that here on that Friday, I'm running full capacity, and I also see that like my technical office is pretty busy in these 2 weeks. I have a big gap here, then busy again. I don't care for my outsourcers. To me, they have infinite capacity. And then my field installation guys, okay, they are like on the bench here and there, but then it gets busier. And if I want to see this information on one glance, then I can also go to something that we call the histogram view, where we have this on one screen. And actually, you see that in the preparation of this webinar with this simplistic data, I found a quite solid balance of supply and demand. There are some areas where my people are not that busy, but I'm also not overloading them, which if you're in German and if you're like, if you have to take care of what the unions say, then this is the preferred picture to having overloaded people. But if not, then maybe you would like to overload them a bit, but then you would see it also from here. So this is like kind of the first way to give you an idea how the visualization should look like, and of course, once I made these changes and when I'm happy with the changes, I can save this, and then we write back the data to Business Central. So every change you do first kind of stays within the VJS, and in the minute you're happy with the changes, you press save, and then Business Central is updated. There is no separate database. It is all happening within Business Central, completely and fully integrated. Nothing that you need to install. The data does not leave the system. It stays within Business Central. So now let's quickly go back to the slides and actually see that there's a question. Can you, so the 3 questions actually, very good. And so the first one is that my laptop is nearly out of power. Let me check this, please. Let me see. No, it's full power. So maybe that was just something that you saw on the virtual machine, but I think I have sufficient power, hopefully. But thanks for making me aware of this. So let me go to the other questions that were raised. And now, then there was another question that says, can you have default colors? Yeah, there are default colors. So there are default colors that then mirror the status of the job, if this is open, if this is planned, or if this is quoted. So there are default colors, and then you can override this default by giving a job specific color. And like later this year, we will kind of also opening up this color field with a little API so that you can populate this color field with whatever color with whatever criteria you look at. And then where are the dependencies? Then the next question is, where are the dependencies saved in Business Central? Are they editable in the table format right now? They are saved in our own tables. And not in the job planning line tables. To my knowledge is that you cannot add them in a table format, but this is something we look at to potentially change this year. And I will show you actually in a minute on how you can change them. Then the next question that just came in is it possible to split one activity planning line into 2 or more from the visual planning view? This is a great question. And I just ask you to stay with me in this meeting so that you can see that the answer is yes. So the answer to this is yes, and I will show you in maybe 20 minutes, maybe 15, but definitively before the end of this meeting. So now let's go back. Now that we understood the basics, let's go back to our use case and let's make this a little bit more realistic. And typical questions that customers have like these that I had in mind when I built my very simple, silly demo data is like I have a new inquiry. When can we deliver? Or a customer needs help. When can we provide the service? And I will answer these questions in a minute. But before I do so, I really want to give a recommendation. Before you jump into Business Central, if you're a customer, or before you like try to fiddle around with a visual scheduler and try to get this kind of question answered on the fly, I would really recommend to take a step back and look at your project or look at your customer's project and try to see if you have similar project structures. And most customers that I worked with that work with the VJS, they have these similar project structures. Like in my case, we have the system implementation and we have the service and maintenance. And this again simplified, but typically customers have repeating project structures, and every project is unique, but the structures are similar. So if this is the case, and I bet if you look, you will find these similarities, then I recommend that you build project templates in Business Central. And I also recommend that you make it very quick and very dirty in Business Central. Just set up the job, the template job with sample job task and with sample job planning lines, and then get this template actually up into the VJS and time schedule it there and complete it there so that it is more precise. And so before we continue planning, let's actually look at how to build template and how to save customers time by having templates and then treat these templates in the visual job scheduler. So now I'm going back to a Business Central and let's go back to the jobs that we have. And you saw that I have a few templates, and there is actually a very simple template that mirrors the project, the red project that we just looked at. And this template is really, it is quick and dirty. I just typed in, so I had to give it, assign it to a customer, but this could have been a dummy customer, not the Canon group. And I said, okay, there are 5 job tasks. I need a project lead, I need technical office, I need production, I need installation. And when we look at the job planning lines, then you see actually here, I just typed that they would start all on the same day, and I put in a little bit of quantity that may mirror the average quantities of these tasks in a typical product. And this is all what I did. So again, very simple, but this could not be 5-step, but 50, and then it would basically the same, but just a little bit more work to set it up. And so I'm a lazy person, so I just made it like this. But don't work on dates. Don't work on planning dates in Business Central when you set up the templates. Just take one date, put in the resource you will need, and you see now I'm putting in the strange resource because I don't want to make any kind of commitment as to which project manager, as to what guy in the technical office, into which field people should work on the project. This is something I will do when I schedule the product. So I say, okay, this should go on like a dummy resource so that I can assign it later. But I know, okay, I would need on average maybe 16 hours of project manager's time for the first step. And this is the template that I set up. So then the second step is once this template is set up, I can actually schedule it in the VJS. So let me quickly go out of the VJS and open the VJS again, but now not looking at my projects like I did, but let's look at the template. So I have a filter here that says show project templates. This filter is set up in a way that I look, okay, it's by job number, and I look for every job where the job number starts with master. This is how I numbered my project templates, and when I do so, I'm getting the exactly same capabilities, but now I'm looking at my templates. And there is this master webinar template, and you see I get some notifications, but I don't care here because I'm not scheduling, but I'm just building templates. And you see it's all like silly because it's all happening at the same point of time. So I say, okay, I just want to time schedule it from here. and let me expand it all so that I can see. And then I say, okay, the first task actually, okay, 16 is okay, but this what I have here should happen when this is done. Then this should happen when this is done. This should happen when this is done. So I'm just moving this stuff. And then I say, okay, actually the last one happens when that is done. And then I say, okay, now I have the structure of my project. And now I can say, and I can say, okay, this one here, I start the link creation and I end the link creation. And I say, okay, they should finish start. And then once I'm done with the technical office, I start the link creation, I end the link creation, it's finish start and not start because it should not happen at the same time. I start the link creation, I finish the link creation, and link creation, and I say boom, and then I do it again, and then I have my structure defined, and link creation, and then finish start. And then I can save this, and then it's saved. And now I recognize, okay, but this is a little bit weird because actually I would need 2 field guys here. So I can say, okay, actually I would need 2 field guys a week. So I first change the quantity, or I need 3. Let's take, we need 3 field guys. So I need, say, okay, I will need 120 in total, but it should be done by 3 guys. So I would now split this, and I would split it 80-40 first. And then the cool thing with splitting is we also copy the links that you define. So you don't need to take care of the links if you split. So we keep the new job planning line that we create by splitting. And now I split this half-half. We keep the link structure. And now I could say from here, okay, scheduled successors. And I have a pretty cool template. I have a pretty cool template for this job. And now I save it. Really important to save now, because now I set up a pretty cool template for this job, and I can create now a new job based on that template. So now once this is done, and this is again standard Business Central functionality, I create a job on this template, and hang on, it's for the Canon group, demo project in webinar. We want to look at this in green. I mean, we want to look at this in green, but not a green, but this green. This is a very environmental friendly project. And then I can say action, copy job, and copy task from. And I take my template that I just defined, and I copy it from the first task to the last task. I make sure that I copy the quantity, and then I say okay. And then I have the job, a new job built on this. And now with this, I can actually go and say, okay, now I get a new job. When can I deliver? Or a customer needs help. When can we provide the service? Now, based on the template, I can create a new job, which I just did, and now I can schedule it, right? And with this, with having this and with having the VJS, there's also no hen and egg problem. Which should I do first? Should I first resource schedule, or which I do time schedule? Definitively, the recommendation is once the new job is created, time schedule it first, then resource schedule, and then fine tune if needed. And let's do this in the VJS. Let me go back to Business Central. Now we created this new job, which lost the color. Why that? Not sure. Maybe because I copied it. So now I have this new job, and the recommendation is once this is in, let's time schedule first. So now this is a new inquiry that I have, and I want to look at all jobs again. So I say show my projects. And what we see is we have this green guy in here. And what we also have, we have the time structure as we defined. And we have all these links. They got copied as well. So this is really nice. And now I know, okay, this is my project. I know, and first, you see now I created this project and I get a notification that the technical office unassigned capacity is exceeded. Let's quickly look what this means, and then I tell you why I ignore this for the time being. It tells me that here technical office is exceeded the capacity. So I already know that the way of how I set this up, and I didn't think about it right now when I set it up, is that I have a capacity shortage here. This is what it tells me already, but for the time being, I ignore my resource situation. For the time being, I ignore this and I first time schedule it. And I know that this is a project, it's an inquiry. It is meant to start maybe in the 8th week, so last week of February. So I moved, and you see what I did? I just moved the project and it moved all the stuff here below. Let me do it again, and then it moves everything below, creates a link hiccup here, don't know why, schedule successors, then I have the structure in place. And now I'm scheduling it. And then I say, okay, for this project, actually, I know that the customer is quite sophisticated, so this will not take 2 days in the beginning, but maybe this will take 3 days in the beginning, right? So I change the demand, then this changes, and then okay, the technical office actually for that I would need 2 people, and maybe maybe first again like I did before. I need 2 people for, and each person I need 2 days, so I need a total demand of 32, but I need 2 guys, so I split this. And now you see I start to time schedule first. I first schedule the structure of the product, and I say, okay, I spoke to my outsourcing guys and they said, hey, look, this is pretty simple. Actually, we can return this to you in 3 days. And then I make this shorter. And then I say, okay, actually, this pretty much mirrors the template. So I will need a week with 3 guys on site. But here again, I know the customer is a little bit picky, so I better plan for 1.5 days of my project manager being on site again for the final acceptance. And then from here, I can say like scheduled successors, and then I have the ideal structure again. And now, once this is set up like this, I would recommend go to the resource view and then try to do the resource puzzle. And I see, okay, there is actually an issue just in production, but production, I don't care. So because this is outsourced and I'm not managing the capacity of my outsourcer, so I would just put it to somewhere I see, okay, maybe job shop 3 has not enough work for me, so I can just put it here. And then I get a warning here because I cannot plan with infinite capacity, but this is something actually I would ignore if this would be an outsourced job shop, and if this would not me, I would call the guys there, can you handle 2 things in parallel, and they confirm me, then I would say, okay, I'm glad that I got the warning, but I do not care about it here right now. And then now I can actually tell my customer, okay, if we start on the week 20 and I can quickly check, okay, I have sufficient capacity here with my project managers, and most likely Mary will become the project manager. I have capacity in the technical office. The job shop guy confirmed that is good. I have free capacity on my field guys, and the project manager is good to go. So I would say, okay, this is actually scheduled. I can save. And I added the job from the template. I time scheduled it, and I did the rough resource calculation. And also from looking at this from here, from the capacity overview, I see, okay, actually the only issue I have is here, but okay, I don't care. this is my outsource guy. They need to kind of be able to get this done. And they confirm to me. So now when time approaches, I also can say, okay, now I need to kind of make sure that it's not just on this dummy group, but I need to assign it to Mary. So I can say, okay, this is actually something Mary will have to do. And this is something that Tom has to do. And this is something that, okay, I need actually 2 guys in the technical office. I need also John. Okay, Paul will not be able to do this, but I need John. And then, okay, this is my job. And then I say, okay, which 3 guys will I send to the customer? Okay, I will send Steve. And I know Steve works really great with Reese. And those make like a magic triangle, these 3 guys. So I will give this to them and they will take care of it. And then afterwards, I would put Mary here again. And now I have first done the time scheduling in the job view, then the resource scheduling here, and it's completely integrated. I can always like look, okay, does it make sense from this structural point of view? Yeah, still okay. And then I can go back and forth, and this works pretty nice. So then there's one thing that we get oftentimes asked is, okay, how do I know if people are unavailable? So we see these things in the background. Let me go back to the resource view. There it's more clear. We see work days, non-work days. But from time to time, people have vacation or they are sick or we send them to a training course or whatever. They are unavailable. So right now, we don't have an integration with the resource absences. This is something that we are going to build this year. The best way to handle this actually is, and I quickly go to the job view here under planning, under plan project. I have something that I just created a dummy project that I call absences. And this dummy project has 4 job tasks: vacation, sick, external training, and other. And I could use now this dummy project to actually schedule absences. So let's go back and if, like you see, I already have like Linda here. It has these gray bar, and I'm on purpose made this job. I used the color gray for this job because this represents a little bit the non-work time like coloring that we have. And so I see there's a gray thing with Linda. And if I hover with the mouse over it, I get this tooltip, and it shows me on this 3rd line the job task description. Okay, Linda's on vacation here. Good for her. And now I'm getting a call from Timothy, and he is also for maybe the 1st week of March. Good weather forecast. He wants to go on vacation. So I'm okay because his workload actually is not that big. So I approve. Let's say approve a 2 weeks vacation here. I'm European, so people go on vacation in Europe for 2 weeks. So I approve a 2 weeks vacation for Timothy, starting here. And actually I can do this from here. I can say, okay, now I need to kind of select the absence project. And then I can say, okay, actually, I go to the creation mode because I want to create a new job planning line. And I want to create a vacation planning line. So if we have deselected everything here, again, but I want to create a vacation job planning line for Timothy in this week. And then I get asked, okay, how long is he on vacation? Well, it is 2 weeks, so 80 hours, 40 hours a week. And then I have like here, and again, I have it for the customer name is Canon Group. This is my dummy customer here. But now I created a job planning line for Timothy that tells me, okay, in this period of time, Timothy is on vacation. And again, I can toggle the creation mode because I did what I created a new job planning line on this absence project, and I can save it. And now I know then this job planning line actually exists on this sample project. So now this is a data entry in this dummy project that I created. It is Timothy. It is starting on the 1st of March for 80 hours, just like I created in the VJS. This is now data that exists in Business Central. And again, this is just a glimpse of the function, or a snapshot of the functionality we have in the VJS. There is much more in the product and there is much more to come. But with these examples, I just wanted to give you an understanding and an idea how you can achieve an integrated resource scheduling with a job planning, project planning with Business Central by applying some visual scheduling techniques. And I see that there are a couple of more questions, so let's run through the questions first. One question. The question is the tool available on mobile phone, if, for example, for the guys on the floor? Let me answer this question in two ways. Technically, yes. So if the people work with the Business Central phone client, then they are able to see this on their cell phone. However, actually, to me, this does not make much sense, because a graph like this really needs to have a lot of real estate. So technically this works, and also this is like touch enabled, so they could also drag and drop stuff here with their fingers. But imagine you have this one on the cell phone. It will be hard to handle. So I would say it would make more sense if, for example, these guys would not have a cell phone but a tablet. And I know that some cell phones have the size of a tablet, but still a tablet, I think, is just has more resolution, is bigger. So it makes sense on a tablet, if you walk around or stuff like this. But on a cell phone, technically, yes, I would say it's not feasible. And also remember, this is just maybe just one cool feature. This is just one very simple example with only a few resources, but you see I already here have to kind of scroll up and down to see all my resources. So we can actually, to get more resources on one screen, to kind of make this a little bit more dense, we can say, okay, and you see I already applied a zoom factor of 80%, but I have a standard layout. We can make this compact. So let me select the compact layout, and then you see we compress the things so that you see more information on the screen, and I get the same refresh I got before because we just loaded the data new. Then you have a more compact view, and now let's assume you would change the zoom factor from 90% to 70%, then I would see all resources on one screen. So now remember, you have this layout, and then try to touch something with your finger on a small cell phone. I would not recommend. So if you have, or if you're a customer, then buy your people some not that expensive tablets. And if you're a partner, I really recommend that you advise your customers to use a smartphone. Next question is, can you export to email calendar view to somebody externally? This is nothing that we provide, but if you're a customer, then talk to your Business Central partner, because they should be able to do this rather easily with Power Automation and Power Apps. So this is something that can be built now rather comfortably on top of Business Central with the wonderful tools that Microsoft provides. So this should be something that can be achieved rather easily, and so it's not part of our scope. We really focus on the visual scheduling. Is there a change log for accidental changes if there are multiple job schedulers? So there is no change log, because actually we don't know, we haven't found one proper in Business Central. And is there a way to restrict job views down per user? No, there is not. And this is a question we get oftentimes asked, and my answer to this is if we would build this into the product, then this would significantly increase the complexity and hence the price, and almost nobody would be willing to pay it. And so the multi-user scenario better can be handled with processes and procedures and policies rather than with a tool that kind of tries to handle it. So this is our approach there. And these were really, really great questions. And some of them also bring me like to my final slides, because we had 2 recommendations. So I really want to give you a 3rd recommendation. And I think you may have got an idea of this. With a visual job scheduler, you can really, and you achieve an integrated project planning and resource scheduling, and we get this balance done, and there is the good handshake between supply and demand for internal resources. However, like the word visual sometimes sounds nice and easy, and you think, okay, I'm just moving some of these boxes and then I'm all set. Well, from the experience we made with our customers and also with our partners, just having a nice tool, a nice piece of software alone does not do the job. So we started to offer, actually, on top of the product and on top of the extensions that we built, we started to offer services to help you as a customer, or also to help your customers to get the maximum value out of our product. So I really encourage you, and this is independent if you're a partner or an end customer, that you not just take the tool, but that you also make use, for example, of our Quick Start package, where we deliver some introductory consultant to make you or your customer familiar with our products, and we know all the kind of, we know the deep dives, we know the sophisticated functions, we have seen a lot of use cases, we have a lot of best practices, and this is not that we are wanting to take business from you as a partner, but we actually want to make sure together with you that we can serve our joint customers in the best possible way. And with this, I'm at the end of what I have prepared for you. There were 3 clear recommendations, and I could show you a couple of them in the demo. I already got a lot of questions, but this is typically the area where I ask again, if you have a question, then please ask it now, or send me an email or connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me a tweet, preferably an email and LinkedIn, but if you prefer Twitter, I'm okay to chat with you on Twitter. And if you have no question now, then I really would like to thank you for your attention, for being here with me in the webinar. And I wish that we all stay safe and healthy, and let's get in contact, because I'm really happy to work with you. Thank you for now. Have a nice day, have a nice evening, and see you soon in one of our next webinars. Bye.